Now, KOB Eyewitness News 4 at 10.
Today we got our hands on more than 100 pages of documents from the investigation into the Berendo Middle School shooting in Roswell.
And Danielle Tedesco spent hours reading through everything, and it's a good thing she did, because just before she finished, she found something that was very revealing. The 12-year-old suspect begging for attention months before that shooting. Danielle?
Tessa, the last 2 pages of this giant stack are an interview an agent conducted with a woman who owns a furniture store in Roswell, and what she told the agent maybe could have prevented the shooting if she or the suspect's grandmother had reported to authorities what he told them a couple months before the shooting. A conversation inside Glenn's furniture store has become a big piece of the puzzle surrounding the shooting of 2 students at Berendo Middle School. Newly released documents from the New Mexico Department of Public Safety have dozens of accounts of the day of the shooting in January, but the last 2 pages of this massive case file detail a day months before the tragedy.
Somebody's been shot at Berendo Middle School.
One of the owners at Glenn's Furniture, Melanie Glenn Bannister, contacted authorities after the shooting. She recognized the young boy accused, 12-year-old Mason Campbell. She says around Thanksgiving, she remembered Campbell was in the store with his grandmother. She says as they paid for their purchase at the counter, Campbell began outlining everything he was planning to do at the school. The store owner says the boy told her his family was about to have some serious legal trouble, but he wanted them to have a happy holiday season first. He told the woman he was tired of being bullied, tired of no one listening. His plan, he told her, was to saw off the butt of his shotgun so he could fit it in a bag, bring it to school, and fire it a few times in the air. The woman says she told him it wasn't a good idea and will get the wrong kind of attention. He said he knew what would happen and would likely be out of jail by the time he's 18 or 21. He said he was prepared for it. The woman reported that Mason Campbell's grandmother was right there with him, hearing this whole conversation, as she reportedly told the store owner not to listen to a word he said, to which he replied, "See, nobody listens to me." Tom?
Thank you, Danielle. Strong wind gusts are still blowing through New Mexico tonight. Lead forecaster Eddie Garcia has been tracking the gusts from the Pinpoint 4 Storm Center. Eddie.
Tom, it's truly no rest for the weary in eastern New Mexico. Been getting some of the worst of the winds, and it's happening right now. 40-mile-per-hour gusts still in the Tucumcari area. Raton, it's getting pretty rough too. 38 miles per hour currently. Now, we don't have any of those red flag warnings in effect right now, but the fact remains that any fires that develop could spread very rapidly. The zones of danger, northeastern New Mexico, but it's critical throughout most of the state. I'm going to track some rain chances that are developing and let you know if we'll get any relief from this in your Pinpoint forecast.
Okay, Eddie, thank you. So there may not be any video of an APD officer actually shooting and killing 50-year-old Armand Martin. Police claim the retired Air Force colonel came out of his house in Ventana Ranch Saturday shooting 2 handguns. But APD hasn't shown us any of that. They've only released video showing the aftermath. They say investigators are still reviewing footage, but so far none of it shows Martin shooting police or police shooting Martin.
There will be strict rules at tomorrow's city council meeting following the chaos that happened Monday night. Protesters took over the meeting, calling for a citizen's arrest of APD Chief Gordon Eden. Tomorrow's city councilors say they will strictly enforce a 2-minute time limit for people wanting to comment. They will also have no tolerance for disruptive public outbursts.
And many of the protesters at that city council meeting Monday night are people that we often see in other police protests. Caleb James talked to 3 of them today, and he brings us a different side of those often angry-looking faces and outspoken voices. Caleb?
Well, Tessa, the protesters that I sat down with today are colorful characters we often see at APD protesters, often the most outspoken ones. But they wanted to see New Mexicans to see them rather in a different element, the one behind the megaphones, behind those picket signs that usually end up right here in Civic Plaza.
I was a single father, so I was their mother and their father.
Mike Gomez lost his son Alan to an APD shooting.
You can't describe what it feels like.
He says he knows most people just can't understand.
Unfortunately, you have to be part of this Lost Loved Ones Club, I call it.
Mike's friends, Mary Job and Nora Anaya, are members of his growing Lost Loved Ones Club.
And it's a club that we don't want anybody to be in. That's why we do what we do.
Anaya's nephew was killed by APD over 20 years ago.
No!
And most people know her by that bullhorn.
I want them to know that I'm generally very diplomatic. I am.
Nora knows she looks angry when she protests, but she says angry probably isn't the best word for it. Frustrated, maybe.
I think what it is like not having anyone really wake up.
She and Mike and Mary also know people think they do what they do for the attention, and they say those people are probably right.
Everybody's got their own lives. Everybody lives in their own little tunnel. For them to look out of that tunnel, that's our goal.
Being loud is how the Lost Loved Ones Club asks everyone to pay attention while APD is reformed.
Because at first I was angry with them, all of them.
Mary Job's husband was shot by APD 2 years ago. She says she replaced anger with a purpose, and that's why she protests.
Until they're in the situation that I'm in, they're never going to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Those familiar faces say they are not anti-cop. In many ways, they're just the opposite, right there with the men and women who protect and serve. But they do say it's leadership, culture, and policies they want to see change within APD. Live at Civic Plaza, I'm Caleb James, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
An El Paso hospital is settling a lawsuit with a Lovington woman who claims she went through unnecessary cavity searches. Our Foreign Years Side team first reported border agents suspected the woman of drug smuggling as she crossed into El Paso from Juarez. Her lawyer told us she was strip searched. Agents did not find anything, so they took her to University Medical Center in El Paso. There, she was x-rayed and subjected to a cavity search of her vagina and anus. Both turned up negative. Attorneys have not released terms of the settlement.
Today, we expected Tesla to narrow down its picks for the new Gigafactory, but instead, it went the opposite way. It actually broadened its options. But as Erica Zuko shows us, even Tesla's interest in New Mexico is helping fuel a business boom. Erica.
Yeah, Tessa, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas were in the running. Now, California is back in the mix, too. Now, 6 years ago, we were supposed to get a Tesla plant, and the Golden State swiped it from us then. No promise of a plant in New Mexico yet. Instead, Tesla officially announced it will break ground in 2 states. We talked to someone who's covered Tesla for years.
Just in case something goes wrong at one site, they have a backup. And for most of us, we say, hey, there's your decision, you made it, go there. But when you're dealing with a $5 billion factory, and one delay could kill it.
Speed is of the essence. Tesla must build by 2017 to meet demand for its cars. But the city says even talk of Tesla is causing more businesses to bite on Albuquerque. The city has been working with the Roundhouse to make business-friendly changes.
To help change some of our tax structure that would allow opportunities and big corporations, manufacturing opportunities like Tesla to come in. And as a result, we're seeing more and more of these knocking on our door.
Consultant Gary Tonjes says ABQ is becoming a target for high-tech companies. Titan Aerospace, Canon, Bendix King, and Eclipse Aerospace all opened shop recently. Tonjes says Albuquerque has a lot to offer on its own, but once the big guys start coming, others follow.
Very few companies are pioneers. They don't want to be the first one into a market. They have a whole lot more comfort going into a place where others who are similar to what their company does, where they're located.
Now, Tonjes says incentives, resources, and potential workers all pull businesses in. He gave me some code names for companies currently mulling moving to New Mexico. The decoy names are used for confidentiality. Among them, Abbey Road, Alabaster, Project Trees, and Susan. Tesla was Project Thor. Back to you guys.
Interesting. Thank you, Erica. The APS school board has voted not to provide $400,000 to help rehab the Rio Grande pool. Bernalillo County claims APS made a verbal agreement to pay the money. Superintendent Winston Brooks says no one at APS approved that. Board members voted 4-3 against offering the cash. The Rio Grande pool closed in November after the county said it was unsafe and leaking. The general public and APS both used the pool. We call the county to see what's next for the project that costs $3 million. We have not heard back.
So the weather warms up, and what do? We open the windows to let that nice breeze blow through, but police say that's not all we're inviting in. So could you be a burglar's next target, or maybe even something worse? Jen Samp reports.
Dozens of people who live near Wantabo and Constitution were not allowed into their homes this morning. Police were searching for a man they say broke into one of the homes in the neighborhood. While they waited, many homeowners started thinking.
I'm just hoping that he's not in my home.
Julie Torres remembered her windows and back door were left open. Strayo Kiyohara also left his windows open. Police ended up searching several homes in that neighborhood.
So I think I'll change my mind now.
Commander Harold Medina with APD says these residents are not alone. He says on any given day when the weather warms up, home break-ins can increase by 10%. He tells us that's because homeowners make it easy by leaving home with their windows open.
Burglars are good at the job they do. They really know how to look. They'll jump into backyards just to check and see if there's an open window.
A few hours later, Torres and her neighbors were finally let back into their homes. The suspect was never found.
You never know what's going to happen. You know, I never thought this I was going to work.
So how do you protect yourself? Police say the less expensive way is to measure a block of wood and wedge it behind the window so that you can crack the window open just enough to let the air in. Also, don't forget to close the blinds and curtains when you leave your home. Jen Samp, KOB Eyewitness News 4.
How would you like to live next to a home infested with rats, with walls that are moldy?
So the this home's owner ditched it more than a decade ago, and the neighbors called us. 4 on Your Side investigates, and we get results next.